From a foul that ended a player's career to another so brutal that a player almost had his leg amputated, these are the 20 most brutal fouls in football. And first, we got to talk about the guy who brought Kung Fu to football.
Everybody was Kung Fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning.
This has to be the most iconic moment from the 2010 World Cup final between Spain and the Netherlands, because at the 28th minute of the game, Alonso suffered the worst tackle of his career. Holy shit! That Kung Fu kick never gets old. Crazy to think he only got a yellow for. Which can't be said about Sergio Aguero, because after a 1-3 beating in his own stadium, he went leg first and flew straight through David Luiz. The brutal tackle got Aguero a 4-match ban. And Luiz later claimed to have suffered 2 years from the reckless challenge. But that's not even the worst foul ever committed on a Chelsea player, because John Terry almost died on the pitch. It was the 2007 League Cup final. Chelsea was up against Arsenal. With the game tied up and only a few minutes on the clock, Chelsea was given a corner, and Diaby wanted to clear the goal, and Terry tried heading it in, but it was not the best idea. He swallowed his tongue, couldn't even breathe, and he had to be treated on the field. The entire stadium was speechless. Mourinho thought he had lost his captain, and Diaby was praying right next to him. Luckily, he fully recovered, but the kick to his face was so hard, he doesn't remember anything from the incident. Everyone remembers this ridiculous tackle on Tagliafico during the Ajax and Bayern clash when Müller tried recreating the karate kick. Well, Tagliafico left back to continue the rest of the game with staples in his head to stop the bleeding, while Müller watched the rest of the game from the dressing room and got a 2-game ban for his sickening foul. Easy, man. This ain't no Shaolin soccer. I guess some players tend to forget that. Like my man Son in the Everton and Spurs matchup. It was the 2019 season, and in the 78th minute of the game, Son caused one of the most painful injuries imaginable. He tried to reach the ball, but it was too late and hit Gomez's ankle, completely turning it the other way. Players started to panic, and fans who watched it up close were shocked. Some received a red card and was absolutely heartbroken. I feel bad for Gomez, though, but I feel even worse for Gavi. He almost lost his ear in a game versus Osasuna. Sorry, guys. We can't really show the foul because he was bleeding too much. But Gavi got his ear stitched up, which looks painful. And so does number 14. Dude almost broke the GOAT's ankle. Now, I understand why he has his leg insured for a record $900 million, which is the most expensive insurance among all the football players. Thank goodness for that, because this dude right here tried to smash Messi's ankle. At least Lopez later denied intentionally stomping on it. Otherwise, he would have been in trouble for sure. And talking about trouble, it was the 2010 Coppa Italia final, Roma versus Inter. And then 19-year-old Super Mario was dominating the Italian fields and driving opponents crazy, so 1-0 down with a trophy at stake and less than 3 minutes left to play, Totti lost it. But that wasn't as crazy as Totti admitting that it was intentional, and he wanted to hurt Balotelli for insulting him for years. And I guess Muscat held a grudge against Zhara for some reason. But we're hitting the top 10, which means only the most brutal fouls from here. Just wait till we get to the horrific top 3. Starting off with this brutal injury to the leg, it was February 27th, 2010, and Stoke City was up against Arsenal. The build-up to this match was really intense, but nobody expected this. Everyone was concerned that the 19-year-old would never play professional football again, but luckily he made it a comeback 9 months later and played 7 more seasons for the Gunners. Now that is absolutely crazy. But not as crazy as the most brutal tackle in the 1990 World Cup, because this scene never gets old.
Es el segundo hombre que consigue salvar, ya el tercero era demasiado.
Heck, even his shoe flew away during the tackle. Claw was only sent off, which was good enough. But that ain't as good as hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like on this video, buddy. Trust me, you wouldn't want to miss out on some awesome football content. But I still can't believe this guy got away with this. And for the butcher of Bilbao, you bet it was a case of intimidation gone wrong. The Athletic Bilbao's center, Andoni Cocheta, took things up a notch when his side faced Maradona and his boys at Barcelona in 1983. Andoni's physically imposing Athletic Bilbao team was clearly second best to Barcelona, with Maradona pulling all the strings. That is, until Cocheta took matters into his own hands, sliding in from behind as he stroked Maradona's ankle, breaking it in the process. Sending Cocheta off wasn't enough, because after the tackle was reviewed, Andoni was suspended for 10 games for a challenge that left Maradona sidelined for 9 miserable months. But the animosity was far from over, because Maradona, it was payback time. The year was 1984, and his gang was up against Bilbao in the Copa del Rey final. It was a fight to the finish, and everyone was battle ready. I mean, everyone. Because after Bilbao scored a goal to take the lead, Maradona launched an attack, and it was kung fu time. Damn, so embarrassing. Someone call the cops already. But there's no way Axel Witsel is escaping jail time because what he did to Wasilewski is totally illegal. It was August 30th and a 20-year-old Witsel was playing the Standard League in a league game against Anderlecht in his home country, Belgium. With the ball loose, the Belgian player tried to beat Wasilewski to the prize. Instead, with a massive lapse in judgment, Witsel put his weight on the Polish defender's outstretched leg, visually snapping it in an instant. Witsel was suspended for 8 games after an appeal. Sadly, Wasilewski never returned to a competitive level. But Battison, well, let's just say he lost a couple of teeth and ribs in the World Cup's most vicious foul. So you bet what became of his career after that. Semi-final match between West Germany and France of the 1982 World Cup is seen as an action-packed classic bout. But this battle was nearly tarnished by one idiotic incident. Everyone feared Battison had lost his life on the pitch. As if things weren't bad enough, it took 7 minutes for the stretcher team to reach the goal area, provide oxygen, and take Battison off. Luckily, he got better. But at least it wasn't as close to having his foot amputated.
Minutes du match Blackburn-Liverpool, Cisse déborde de côté droit et puis s'effondre.
It doesn't look like much happened, but if you look at the replay from this angle, damn, it looks really, really painful. Cisse broke his leg and was on the sidelines for 10 months. But things could have played out a whole lot worse because according to his doctor, his leg could have been amputated. But for number 2, Reading was up against Chelsea back on the 14th of October 2006, and after only 20 seconds played, Petr Cech took a blow to the head that fractured his skull. This was one of the most horrific moments in football as Cech wore his iconic headband for the rest of his career. But while Cech suffered an injured skull, another player was left with fewer teeth after a brutal attack. But for number 1, to perfectly understand the rivalry between these two guys, we got to go back way in time. See, back in 1997, Alfie Haaland was playing as a right back at Leeds, and Roy Keane was one of United's best midfielders. But Keane tore his cruciate ligament in an innocuous challenge with Haaland, who stood over him and gave him an earful, assuming the Irishman had gone to ground in search of a penalty and was faking injury. But Keane didn't let things go, because when Manchester United and Manchester City faced off 4 years later in 2001, Keane went right for Haaland's leg and sent him straight to the hospital. Keane was immediately sent off, fined £5,000 and suspended for 3 games. But 1 year later, the Irishman admitted in his 2002 biography that the foul had been premeditated. I didn't want to nail him. I just wanted to hurt him and stand over him, he wrote. Man, that is just ridiculous. But it's not as ridiculous as the moment when a world-class player lost his life right on the pitch in football's most emotional moments. Click this video to check it out, man.